Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's IE Civics bringing you the PermaBlock debuff for Warden. The only reason this build is even here is because Clockwork came out, started up PvP, load screen every time he died, so I decided, fuck dying. So, let's hit up this build. Character sheet. All your points into health. We're still a vampire. I can never get rid of vampire. We're using 3 stat food. Your boon is of the ritual, so your healing is increased by 10%, and make sure you're ESO plus because pay to win. So these are our stats outside of PvP. Right now, both of my campaigns, AD, my faction has Imp, so all these stats would be messed up. So debuff, here's your recovery, health recovery, which is never going to be high, your stamina. So right now we're running about 18k magicka, 16.7k stamina, and 41.7k health unbuffed without battle spirit. When you're in PvP, you're at 51.8k, just about, when you have your toughness, your 10% more hit points. And when you don't have toughness up, you're at about 48k hit points. Spell resist and physical resist are both at 24k. Your weapon damage is 1400. So then let's just throw on. I believe you have 2 buffs here. Yep. This is what you're gonna look like. You're about 29.3k on your resists, 1600 spell and weapon damage, and 627 on the recoveries. You're not going to need any more on the recoveries just because we have a niche. Remember, you have the niche, it's giving you stamina, you can block, you still get stamina back. So, this character sheet. Let's go into the armor. So I wanted to make it a build that goes around the asylum, the new asylum stuff, just because it's pretty easy to get. I was really surprised. Ran it, does it take 15 minutes at the very most? So Asylum Axe, it doesn't matter, Axe, Sword, it doesn't matter. Just make sure it's part of the defensive posture, the defensive position set. There are some one-handeds that belong to the dual wield set, so don't get messed up with that. So I happen to get it in Powered. Powered is good, and Decisive is good. You can get it in either of those. I just chose Powered. I wasn't sure about the heals. The shield, you have to get in Sturdy. This is a block build. So here's my Asylum. Oh yes, and our weapon enchant is the typical creature weapon and spell damage. Oh, another one you could use is Infuse, just to have your weapon and spell damage popped up just by a little bit more. So those are your 3 choices. My back bar, I have an impregnable Resto Staff. This is my first build to not just be sword and board back and forth. If you don't want to do Resto, don't worry, I'll let you know how to build your build with sword and board on both bars. So Resto Staff, I didn't even bother throwing an enchant. I probably really should, but Powered for sure on the Resto Staff. Now, since we're using the Asylum set, we're not using a monster set. So we're using, of course, Impreg for all that crit resist. And don't even worry about golding any of this out. You'll be just as successful with gold as you will be with purple. You'll get a little bit more stats, a little bit more crit, and a little bit more block. For sure, it will be helpful, but it's not going to make or break you. So just make sure you go get Sturdy everything, or transmute everything to Sturdy. So my head, yeah, thanks, bro. So head is impregnable, helm, max health. My chest, this needs to be Sturdy, Iron Blood. So Iron Blood is in the Falkreath dungeons, one of the new DLC dungeons that came out last patch. So this gives you health, physical resistance, spell resistance, and when you take damage, you have an 8% chance to turn your blood into pure iron, gaining major protection for 10 seconds, reducing your damage by 30 seconds, but your movement speed is reduced by 50%. I went through a calculator to see between this set, Iron Blood, one of the new sets that is craftable that gives you like 5,000 resist, that's a 5-piece, and Footman, which is the when you block you take 8% less damage. This set came out to be the best set by far, no matter what situation I was in. The Footman was the worst, and the new crafting set was second best, and it was just a little bit better than Footman, but still, this set is just significantly better. The crappy part is just that you gotta farm this set, and I've been farming this set like crazy, and I can't get all the sturdy pieces. So, I have infused here, you want sturdy. Shoulders of impregnable, same thing, health, everything's health. Iron blood girdle, sturdy, health, sturdy, oh yeah, so this should be sturdy health, and sturdy health. Now, so for the rings, I didn't want to farm that new DLC patch or dungeon for the rings, and also you can't really get them in gold, so impregnable. If you want to go gold, you have the gold to get gold rings, you can. What I recommend is not do what I did here, where I have 2 arcane impregnables and a stamina impregnable. What you want to do is get 2 stamina impregnables and 1 arcane impregnable, which will switch around your magic on stamina. I was finding that I didn't, with the build out I did before this without Asylum, that setup was alright. But I didn't read you the Asylum, what it does. But with the Asylum 2-piece, is when you reflect or absorb a spell projectile with defensive posture, restore about 1800 magicka. And then if it just goes out, you get 4500 magicka. So really, your stamina pool is also your magical pool. So whenever you do defensive posture, you absorb, you get, your magicka back. So this 18.3k magicka I have to 16.8k stamina, you have to reverse this. Or just take out one of the rings and switch one ring. Switch one magicka ring with one of the stamina rings. That's what you want to do. You don't have to get the healthy rings just because we have toughness at all times, so we're always getting another 10% hit points. So we have some leeway there with our build. And reduce cost of bash and block in all your jewelry. So yeah, that's all the gear. Yeah, pots are tri-stat pots. We're Argonian. Now down to the skills. Netch, bull netch. So this is what we're gonna get our stamina from while we're blocking, and also getting our major brutality and major sorcery, just to make our heals just a little bit better. Another thing you could do, which you can see in my videos, I put 2 videos of me using this build, testing it out, trying to figure out what I was doing. If you're blocking and you have nothing else to do, make sure to always be spamming this, because this is going to be giving you ultimate, and this is also going to be healing you. See if I can take some fall damage. See? So 2k to 35k, so that'll be half that much in PvP. Ooh, that's some iron. Boop. Yeah, alright. It's a very important skill. And oh yeah, I also want to show you that you can see block there. When you cast this, you're still blocking. It does not break block. So this is your cheating for healing and ultimate, and also it gives you toughness when it heals you. It's a cheat. It's amazing. Alright, back to the next skill. Now for Arctic Blast, this is our main heal. This isn't good as Dragon Blood with the DK, where they just gain a huge amount of their hit points when they're low. What this does is doing a couple things. So this will give you 13% of your max health, so half that in PvP, and an additional 2% of your health every 2 seconds over 10 seconds. So it's a big heal, a dot heal, and also this will be 1%. This is also doing a little bit of cold damage around you. 8 meters around you. So this is where we are debuffing, and our debuff is directly attached to our main heal. And the debuff is minor main, where we reduce everyone's damage by 15%, which is also buffed by our passive here, which increases chance of blind chill to enemies with Winter's Embrace abilities. So the chill effect gives minor main to all enemies around there. So when you're surrounded by a bunch of people, they're all within 8 meters of you, and they're all minor maim. So there's negative 15% damage times 10. So that's another reason that we can survive so much. You know, the DK, you know, the PermaBlock DKs have this, but they have to do it in their talons where they waste a lot of Magicka. We have this up all the time because we're healing ourselves. This skill is also mathematically broken. It procs minor maim way too much. It's almost at 8% instead of like the 3% it's supposed to be at. So it's broken. So definitely use it. And it's our heal. You can also take the other morph, which will heal someone else for the same amount you're getting healed, you know, if you really want to, but then you lose some of your debuffing power. Next is the vine skill. So you put vines around you, and for 10 seconds every time you get hit, and that's only once per second. If you get hit 50 times, it's not going to heal you 50 times. You gain about 1400 health. This is all debuff. And when it expires, you heal for another 3400. I'm sure this goes up here. Yeah, it goes up just a little bit. So this is one of the skills that you could put on yourself. Now, and you have the vines here around you, and you could put on other people too. So this is also where you have a little bit of utility for your group. You have to make sure this is up. You can also preemptively put this on and use it as a pop heal. You know this is gonna pop within, what is it? Within 10 seconds. You go in, you know you're gonna need to heal in 10 seconds. You go on, it's gonna heal you when it expires. You gotta be smart with that skill. Now, absorb magic. This is our one stamina skill that's very important, and the whole reason we're using the asylum set. So you pop this on, you take a projectile, you heal for 21,000 right here. And also the amount of damage you can block is increased by 8%. The cost of block is reduced by 8%. Everything super important about this skill. Don't forget to take every single passive in the one-handed tree. So say you've gone crazy healing and you run out of Magicka, you pop this, you're guaranteed to get hit. When you get hit, they're going to give you Magicka, so you can pop one of these again. And that's what you do all day. And that's how you stay alive. So you're going to see in a lot of my videos, I die with resources still. Like I still have stamina or I still have Magicka. That's my fault. That's my error that I died with resources. You should really die when you're totally out of resources. Then you know you're doing it right, or you're blowing your resources. That's only two reasons to ever be out of resources. Alright, next skill. This is a very important skill that I think a lot of people don't realize, especially with the change of clockwork. Now that only heavy armor has this ability, this is a pretty good ability. So you don't ever use this for the major resolve or major ward. It's not what that's about. It's just when slotted, each piece of heavy armor worn decreases the cost of break free. We're wearing 7 pieces. We're all heavy. So it's another 28% to break free reduction. So that's a big deal. And also, when you're trying to get into this is the one time you pop it. Let's say you're running away, you're trying to get into the door. You pop this, you see your CC immune, and you can get into a door. Or if you're just trying to get anywhere. Mostly for indoors. Oh yes. How can I forget? The ultimate on the front bar is Permafrost. So this is a group buff. You know, it does little damage. It will chill people. It has a pretty low % chance to apply minor maim, but it will. So everyone, all your allies within this area will take 30% less damage because they gain major protection, and you will snare and stun enemies that are in it. Snare immediately, and their movement speed is reduced by 7%. And if they take 3 ticks of the permafrost, so stand in it within 3 seconds, or you follow them for 3 seconds, they're immediately stunned. This is really good for group utility. So let's hit up this back bar. Corrupting Pollen. Here again, this is another skill that we use. This is where we can do major defile. So we'll defile everyone by 46%. So this is a major buff. Not a lot of people have it, and they do. They have to run it on a set. I think does a set have it? No, now I'm confused. Yeah, there's a set that has it. So it completely changes up their build, and we don't need that. We could also do this in an AoE group, so we don't have to do skills like Reverberating Bash. Reverberating Bash also does major defile, but it's for one person. And this also has a heal, a pretty decent heal. Now, if you're not doing group play, just playing by yourself, take the other set, the other morph of this, so you can put it down. The other morph, you put it down, you wait there, and then you can press the button again, and it gives you a big heal. And also stand in this when you're blocking, because this will also just give you a heal when you need it. Well, it'll give you a heal. Sometimes you don't need it, sometimes you do. Now down to the Vampire, Elusive Mist. This is just to get out of dodge when you're in super trouble. I think in my second video, there was a Warden that was using Frozen Gate on me who kept pulling me back into the Zerg, and I just kept using this to get out of there. Also, this is also good. Make sure you have your Netch out. And here, let me blow some stamina. Just remember, you can recover stamina while you're in mist form. So if you're in an emergency setting, do this just to get your stamina back. And then pop this, and boom, do that. And go back into mist form to get your stamina back and your magic back. Because remember, if they hit you while defensive posture is up, you will get healed and you will get your magic back. This skill that we're talking about next here, the Grippling Charge, you couldn't have it on your bar. I don't use it a whole lot, I'm noticing, with this build. Unlike my previous Immortal Warden build, I'm kind of surprised. But I like it here just to keep people in place. To say if a bomber's going to come in or they throw in a gate on top of you, because you're up in the front. That's the whole point of you in a team battle. You know, you charge everyone right when they're thrown down the gate, and you have them already defiled. So this is up to you. You can change out this skill for, I really don't know, actually. Yeah, it's not really a skill I really would want. Maybe you would go down to, where is it at? You know, Entropy, and get a little bit of extra hit points for your front bar. You could do that if you don't want to run that skill. And then Ice Fortress, this is where you get minor protection, reducing your damage by 8% for 24 seconds. So this is a big deal that we get this. We don't have to use some other crazy skill. I know a lot of DK tanks will go into here and get Circle Protection, which will give you 8%, the minor protection here. But look, that costs like 8k stamina. The hell with that. So we have that here. Super awesome. And then back to Heavy Armor, Immovable Brute. You put this on both bars, because sometimes you get CC'd on your back bar, and that sucks because you have a Resto Staff. Now to the Resto Staff. This is really for this Lights Companion, this buff. Archery's got a little bit of a nerf, and it really sucks. Like 80%, we're 80% okay with it, 20% sucks. The main reason is that you get major protection from this ultimate for 5 seconds, and this works really good with Iron Blood. So when you're fighting, you get Iron Blood for here. You get Iron Blood for 10 seconds, right? Every 15 seconds. So for 5 seconds, you can't get major protection from Iron Blood. But from your Resto Staff skill, you can fill in that last 5 seconds because you get major protection for 5 seconds. So theoretically, you can have major protection up 100% of the time, mathematically, right? You don't need to do that and when you're actually fighting, but this is your chance. This is why you'll always have major protection up and minor protection up. So the 8% will always be there just because it's a normal buff. So now you have 8%. With minor protection. Though your ultimate, you have major protection right now also. So this is why this build is really good, and why I went with Resto Stuff in the back instead of Sword Board in the back, just because of the ultimate. So then passives, everything in the classes, passive tree, everything in the one-hand shield. You can grab everything the Resto Staff. Only grabbed Restoration Expert and Restoration Master. Heavy armor, you take everything. Vampire, you take everything except Savage, Feeding, Blood Ritual. You don't have to. And then Undaunted, take every passive. Assault, every passive. Support, every passive. And of course, Argonian, every passive. Now for the champion tree. So this is where you can waver. I have 34 points into Warlord. This is what reduces the cost of break free. So when you're playing with a group, this is what you want. I have 100 points into Befoul, so this is for the debuff. If you're not debuffing with Corrupt and Pollen and you're taking the Healing Morph, take out these 100 points for Befoul, throw them here into Warlord. So you'll live longer because you have more stamina. And then you could throw the extra 30 points into Tumbling. Just every once in a while you have to roll out of a negate. Shadow Ward, reduce the cost of blocking by 25%. Just mandatory, it's a must. Have 100 into Bless to increase healing. 100 into Elfborn because it increases healing of your critical healings. And a little bit to Elemental Expert, just kind of had the points just to throw it in there. I have 45 into Ironclad, reducing damage of direct attacks, and 40 into Resistance, just to give myself like about another 1k crit resist. We have really high crit resist because of Impreg in this, which is super helpful when you have block up and when block isn't up. 60 into Hardy, 60 into Elemental Defender. This is really because of the Unchained passive. So every time you use a break, you press break free, your next stamina ability is reduced by 5 seconds, reduced by 80%. So, you know, let's say you're running around, whatever, you had to break free, you pop this for free, and you're getting a free heal and free magic back. There's a lot of synergy because of that. Those are silent axes. So let's go back. Yeah, we talked about all this, right? Yep. And here. And 25 points into quick recovery. Just increase the healing you receive. So it's just good for groups. Just a little bit extra healing because you're up front. You're taking dumb amount of damage. So those are your champion tree points. And I think that's about it, right? Yeah. So what this build is and what this build isn't. So this build is a block tank build. Is it as effective in surviving as the DK tank? Let's say out of 0 to 17, and 17 was the best. A DK tank, block tank would be a 17. You're a 16 as a Warden in your survivability. You're just not, like, just barely not as good. If, like, you know, the best player who ever played DK tank versus the best player who ever played a Warden tank that are both block tanks, just slightly, and just because we're missing a couple passives from the DK tank, and that's only the reason why. But we actually bring some utility to the group. A DK tank just sits there, and they might do minor maim, maybe. Here, you're always doing minor maim. You're giving people some heals. You're giving people a buff, and you're doing a lot of this, a lot of the Befoul, what's buffed by Befoul. And oh yeah, this is actually buffed by Befoul now, because in the last patch, we realized that this skill right here with Major Defile wasn't being buffed. It was a waste. So now we're extra effective, even more effective this patch, us Wardens, and anyone who was using Major Defile. So you bring, remember, you bring Defile, Roots that have minor main, you give everyone resistance, you do a minor main and a heal, and you give everyone Vines, which is a heal. So you're bringing a lot of utility. And then within your ultimates, you're bringing the Permafrost, which is major protection to everyone within it, rooting everybody, or rooting all enemies and stunning all enemies within it. So there's your other utility. And here in the back bars, Arresto Staff, you're giving yourself and someone else major protection and heals. So you're actually useful to the group, because a lot of DK tanks, they're not. Like, what are they doing? You know, they can have the rest of the bar in the back too and throw that up there, which is cute. You know, it's useful, it's nice, but that's it. That's all they're for. So this is actually group-wise actually useful. Now, is it as good, you know, in debuffing as my Immortal Warden build? Nah, not really. Just because we don't have the magical pool just to be throwing down defiles everywhere, because we got to keep ourselves up, you know. And we're not using guard, which is a big deal. And on this build, you could use guard too, but you would just remove the immovable brute skill, the heavy armor skill, which kind of a bummer, and it's a pretty big bummer, but you could put it on there and guard someone and still do fine, you know, because at that point you'll be with a group, so if you had to break free, you're getting some heals, so you could balance that out mattering on your group. And especially if you're guarding a healer, like you guard them all day because they're healing you. You run out a little bit of stamina, that's fine. You can just throw in a heavy attack and heal, and block again and get your stamina back. Alternatives to your ultimates that you can try. If you don't like permafrost, especially if you're playing by yourself, you don't need permafrost. You could put on bat swarm, so this will give you a lot of heals. Or devouring swarm to heal you, you know, when the Zerg is hitting you. And you can put on the shield wall. I haven't morphed it yet, but just even with this morph, you know, you pop it on and it blocks for you the whole time, so you don't have to block, and you can heavy attack and get your stamina back while the shield wall ultimate is blocking for you. So those are two alternatives. And also, if you don't have a resto staff, you can also just put on the trees. I mean, it's a bummer what happened to trees. You know, our heal got nerfed a little bit and it costs a little bit more, but, you know, we'll survive. We'll be okay. It's still not a weak ultimate, especially for a 90 ultimate cost. It's still a really good ultimate. Alright, well, that's the build. Thank you, everybody, for checking out this build. Oh, I didn't like that. That was like covering my face. Please like and subscribe. You can watch those two videos I put up. I might be putting up another video of just more block tanking. You know, I'm still learning how to use it correctly, so, you know, the goal is to die with your resources depleted and your potions completely depleted. So I'm gonna do a couple more days of this build, and then I'm gonna come back to my stamina Immortal Warden, and I'm gonna update that for clockwork, so keep an eye out on that. That's gonna be coming up in a couple weeks. So thank you guys, like and subscribe, and I appreciate it, and I'll catch up with you guys next time.